Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and of course, I'm playing Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice. And I was asked here about the U.S. and France joining an alliance to defend Romania from the Soviet Union or something like this. And they were also mentioning here in the chat about neutrality after the Great War, after World War I for the U.S. I don't think the world understands the United States. I really don't think you do. I grew up during the Cold War with watching demonstrations in places like Britain, France, and West Germany that were ban the bomb, the U.S. out of Europe, and blah, 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 which were all supported monetarily, paid for by the Soviet Union and stuff. And people, I don't want to be nuked. Well, yeah, who wants to be nuked? And so they were coming out, at these demonstrations and whatnot. But you don't understand us, people. You just don't. The American people, the overwhelming majority of the American people, whether they're well-informed American people or the American people who you show them a blank map of the world and you go, where's Britain on it? And they point to Japan because they don't the fuck know. We don't fucking care about the world, okay? We really don't. And you get the people on Twitter, sure, but those are an infinitesimally small percentage of the American people that will complain about something online around the world. And I'm one of them. But the American people, we don't fucking care. And this is probably going to get demonetized or something because I'm using harsh language in the very beginning of the video. But we don't care. We really don't effing care. At heart, we're sort of like the Swiss. We just don't care. You guys go do you and leave us alone. But you won't leave us alone. Why the hell? Why the hell do you keep attacking us? You realize that you people out there, and yeah, I know it's different ones at different times, but you fucking keep attacking us. We don't like it. Why do you people keep declaring war on us? Why? Why? We started out, and you may think this is silly, but it isn't. We started out wanting to be peace with everybody. Just, we want peace, people. Okay, yeah, those primitive savages in the woods, we'll clear them out over time. But the rest of you out in the world, we don't care about you. Those primitive savages were often taking us. And then some lunatics decide to capture some American vessels. What the hell? We were just merchants sailing around the world peacefully. And some Islamic lunatics capture some American vessels. Well, don't you know, gamer, in America, all of us Europeans have been paying the Danegeld, the money to the various North African princes or whatever you want to call them, to not attack the British ships or the French ships or the Italian ships? Well, they still do once in a while anyways, but just pay them off and you'll get your ships back. No, we're just peaceful. Leave us alone. No, you got to pay them. So they take our ships. So since they take our ships, we form the United States Navy. You know, the Marine Corps hymn, from the shores of Tripoli. And they're talking about this Tripoli because some damn Tripoli prince captures and holds for ransom some of our sailors, merchant sailors and ships. You take our ships, then and only then do we form the United States Navy. There was no Navy prior to that. Oh, yeah, there was sort of, you can look back, John Paul Jones and the American War of Revolution, but no, there's really no Navy prior to this. And so you attack our ships and we go to war with Tripoli and we, go on Decatur and all that stuff. Okay. And then a few years later, 1812, the British attack us. I mean, yeah, I know we fought a war of independence, and the British don't really like us terribly much at this time. But look, all we want to do is be peaceful. We don't care. Paris, you want to cut off half your population's head? Go do it. Have fun. You want to go, do massive battles and kill everybody? Go do it. Have fun. Just leave us the fuck alone. Yeah, some of our merchant vessels want to go trade with the world, but just leave us the fuck alone. And the British decide to attack American ships. They shoot at a few, but mostly they shoot at and come next to and go, hey, you have lots of sailors. They speak English. They must be British sailors. Some of them have British accents. Well, they might have British accents because there were a lot of Britons that went to America even before the American War of Independence and still spoke in a British accent. But Britain decided, no, they're still British. So they took sailors off of, even ones that had very American accents and had paperwork that said they were Americans. Took them off of our ships. So captured, kidnapped, literally kidnapped Americans. Kidnapped Americans that had the time period equivalent of a passport that said they were American. Now, often because the United States government really didn't issue very many passports, but the North Carolina government did, the Virginia government did, the Massachusetts government did. Generally, passports, kind of shipping passports as sailors, were generally at that time issued by the different state governments, not so much by the federal government. So Britain is capturing literally hundreds, kidnapping, I should say, not capturing, kidnapping, because we were at peace, hundreds of American citizens. Britain is kidnapping hundreds of American citizens. Also preventing our ships from, and we could argue over the justification of that, of ships that are trying to, trade with France. Okay, it's one thing to go, hey, yeah, you can't go in and out of French ports even if you're neutral. I could forgive that. But Britain kidnaps hundreds of American citizens with American citizen passports. Now, some of these people, yes, were born in Britain, but they had come and achieved American citizenship. So that's 1812. So we're attacked in 1812. And then in the 1850s, there's several rivers in here. This is the Rio Grande, but there's also another river here. Texas has been independent for approximately 10 years and is getting ready to come into the United States. And there's a United States patrol survey party down here, north of the Rio Grande, but south of whatever other river that's down here. And Mexico decides to attack these soldiers. And yeah, there's a previous, whether it's the Rio Grande or whether it's this other river, I forget the name of it. It's a smaller river where the border is, but generally speaking, the Texans had always claimed it was on the Rio Grande and whatever. So Mexico attacks the American soldiers. Now, the American army is almost non-existent, the national army. Oh, there's state militias, but the American army is almost non-existent. Probably, the Mexican army is like 10 times as strong as the American army. Because, other than Canada, who's going to threaten us? Oh, we have the Second Amendment. And yeah, we've had to form a navy because, again, those Arabs in North Africa pissed us off. So we still have a bit of a navy, even though we left over from fighting the British. We still have a bit of a navy, but because we need to protect because we've learned we need to protect our ships from either British attack or Arabic attack or whoever. But basically, we don't need an army. We have a Second Amendment. Everybody has guns. We're cool. We're cool. We just want to be left alone, people. So Mexico attacks our garrison down here. And then we have the Mexican-American War, and we kick their butts, and we take Mexico City. And during that phase, we also California declares its independence, and then 3 days later joins the Union. But yeah, so it's independent for 3 days. Where Texas was about 10 years independent before joining the Union. And we gather up some land in between here. Not this was later the Gadsden Purchase south of the river here. This is the Colorado River. I don't know what this is really called here, but the Gadsden Purchase is actually bought from Mexico later on. But so yeah, we gobble up some extra territory here. Yeah, there's machinations, but really the first real shots, and it's north of the Rio Grande, are this garrison that barely holds out, that defends. There, okay, that's the Mexican-American War. Then, and you'll notice a trend outside of that. You'll notice a trend here, and we're coming up to this. All you people out there, the Maine. It's about we name our battleships after states. The Maine, a battleship, blows up in Havana Harbor. It probably was an accident. But there is reason to believe that it was an act of sabotage by the Spanish. But I'll grant you it was probably an accident. And definitely William Randolph Hearst, with his newspapers, really make this out to be an attack on America. So America goes to war with Spain. And we take some territory. Puerto Rico. Yeah, but our battleship was blown up. We can talk about, again, and there's reason to believe it was sabotage. I'm putting it down most likely into an accident, but there's reason to believe it was sabotage. Okay, so that's that war. Spanish-American War around 1900. And then around, what was it, 1915, 1916? Well, there's an ongoing Spanish Civil War. When isn't there? There's still one going on today up in the north here, cartels and whatnot. And Pancho Villa, with 100 or so men, invade America. And kill Americans, and kill American garrisons. I mean, a bunch of people die. So the U.S. invades Mexico. Now this time, we don't shoot at the Mexican army. The Mexican army just doesn't shoot at us. And we hunt Pancho Villa. Patton is one of the few that actually sort of shoots in, actually kills a couple of Pancho Villa's officers. Some other Pancho Villa's men are killed, but not many. Pancho Villa is not captured or killed. But we go home. Because we weren't there to conquer Mexico. We were there because we were invaded. We go home. I think it's around 1916. The Germans sink the Lusitania. It's a U.S. Owned and flagged ocean liner going to Britain, but it's sunk way, way out here somewhere. It's not like right off a British port or something. It's sunk way out there. Large loss of American lives. Germany then pinky swears to never go after U.S. vessels again. Well, things, and I probably have some of the dates wrong here, people, but it's all your fault. Not America's fault. It's your fault. You don't understand America. Germany announces going back to unrestricted submarine warfare. So they've just declared war on American shipping without necessarily declaring war on the United States. But they said, we're now going to have an exclusion zone that goes way out into the Atlantic somewhere, and that we will sink any ship we see out there that we think is heading to Britain or something, or to France, or maybe even to some neutral country like Spain. And then, because Spain is constantly making arms and sending arms to France, so even if we were sending, coming into Bilbao and then unloading arms and going to France or war supplies, we're just going to sink anything out at sea. So they've in essence declared war on our shipping after sinking some of our ships. That then gets America into World War I. Yeah, I know Wilson or whatever wants us in the war, but the American people, we don't fucking care. You want to machine gun down all your population? Have fun, Europeans. You like killing each other. We don't want to be involved. But no, you want us involved. So the war happens because you sink the Lusitania and then you attack our shipping. So we get involved in World War I. The American people really get there. Okay. And then, that's the war to end all wars, or just to teach Europe, yeah, don't mess with us. And we sort of kind of taught Europe not to mess with us. But we hadn't taught the Asians not to mess with us. So, Japan is having its fun time excursion in China, murder fest, rape fest. Yeah, this is going to get awfully demonetized, I know. In China. There's probably a bunch of comments in chat. I'll get to reading those in a bit. They're, again, having their nice murder time in China. You travel in China, murder people, kind of game. Well, Japan decides to attack American ships. First, the Panay on the Yangtze River. This is the Yangtze River in here. Massive river, massive lakes. Now, this is the Panay is a river gunboat. It's an American naval vessel. We can talk about whether China wants us there or not. There are some Chinese elements that do sort of like us there, but we could talk about that. Especially once Japan is attacking, they like us there even more. And this is a gunboat, a naval boat with definitely sailors on it, maybe Marines. I'm not sure if it had Marines on it, but some of them did on it. And on its roof, because it has sort of a big metal roof on it that keeps the sun off or whatever, has a big, huge American flag painted on it. Big, huge red, white, and blue American flag. Nothing else has these big American flags on it. And the Japanese bomb it. During World War II and before, there was a lot of racist stereotypes that Japanese can't see very well. That's why they have big, thick glasses and their eyes are squinty and whatnot. So either the racist, quote-unquote, racist stereotype is real and Japanese pilots are flying around half blind and can't quite see. And yeah, they can see the ground because it's sort of big, but they can't quite see targets. Either that, and if you believe pilots are in the Japanese either Army or Navy Air Corps, I don't know which, if it was probably the Army Air Corps because it was so far inland, but if you think those pilots are half blind and can't see shit, then you're deluded. They sink the Panay, they bomb it. And there's no other viable military targets around it at the time. It is not supporting or covering for or shielding Chinese action. It's just out, on the river, in and around the area. It's a warship. It's a ship. It has a big American flag. The only thing that has an American flag on it, so it's not like the Chinese were hiding their ships under American flags or whatever. No. And it isn't like a flag waving in the air that you might not see. It's just a big thing painted on the roof. No effing way you're mistaking what you're hitting. Okay? And it's definitely multiple attacks on the Panay. It isn't an accidental drop. It isn't some single pilot getting overly enthusiastic. I'm not saying it was commanded from, Tokyo saying, go sink that ship. It very well might be the local whoever, Army or Army Air Corps commander, but it's an attack on our ship. Oh, they've also, at times, the Japanese attack British ships and other things too, but they attack our ship. We don't go to war. I mean, there's not that much, but, don't go to war. Then the Japanese decide, we really, really want a war with America. We really do. We want a war with America. Well, let's attack their ships. Well, they attack our ships in Pearl Harbor. We didn't want to. Yeah, now, FDR wants to get into World War II, and I do think it's the right thing to get into World War II. But the American people really don't want to be involved in World War II. If the Asians want to go slaughter each other, okay. If the Europeans want to slaughter each other, okay. Just leave us the fuck alone, people. But no, you attack us in Pearl Harbor. So we get involved in World War II. And then something happens in World War II. And I'll get to the chat here, I promise. Somebody, not fortunately for us, and maybe fortunately for the world, but you can debate that because maybe you're a Nazi or a Japanese imperialist or whatever. But fortunately, the Americans discover the nuclear weapons. And there's this other group of people out there that are constantly screaming, world revolution, and whatnot. So America goes, oh shit. Nuclear weapons are now a thing. We know the Rosenbergs, they were guilty, even though my high school professors tried to claim that they weren't. Because we now see we've got enough Soviet stuff. That the Soviets have been given the American secrets of the atomic bomb. And they're going to have atomic bombs. And they've already basically stated and claimed under Stalin and others that they're going to conquer the world. They have atomic bombs. Well, the Second Amendment is really cool, and I love it. But even if everybody has their own anti-tank missile and their own surface-to-air, shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile and their own machine gun sitting in their, their house, it really ain't going to help if you're sending nuclear bombs and missiles on our country. So, the Second Amendment will keep us from being occupied, conquered normally. But it ain't going to stop nuclear missiles. So there was the Cold War. Now, some of it might be engineered. But again, ships get attacked. Attack our ships. The only major attack on our ships that doesn't get us war is when Israel went after the USS Liberty. But no. Now that the Cold War is over, and then Al-Qaeda attacks us, America is already starting to retreat, already starting to pull out from being around the world everywhere. It's not going to happen overnight, but Al-Qaeda attacks us on 9/11, 2001. And that gets us about 20 years of fighting in the desert. And then we elect Trump. There's no new wars under Trump. Trump wants to withdraw from places. And the Europeans go fucking nuts over Trump. My God, you ain't going to go fighting wars for us? You ain't going to go fighting wars? Trump, no, we want to go home. We don't want to fight in wars. No, you want to come and fight in wars? So Europeans hate Trump. because Trump won't fight in wars, won't start a new war. So the U.S. does finally pull out of a lot of these places. Trump tries to get us out of Syria, and they literally lie to his face. They tell him that we pulled our troops out, and even though he's commander in chief, the you want to talk about insurrection when the Joint Chiefs of Staff lie to the president, the commander in chief of the army, is saying all of U.S. armed forces are out of Syria, and they're not. That is a crime. That is a crime. But they decide. I mean, whether they should be there or not, that's another debate. But when the president tells you to withdraw them and you claim that you do, but you don't, that is a crime. But they get Trump out. And, the U.S. is still, the U.S. population, if you look at it, a lot of them, and a lot of the conservatives are, let's not go to war. And for the most part, the U.S. is like not going to war. Yeah, sure, we're giving all kinds of arms to Ukraine. Well, what do you do to us again? What do you do? What do you people do? What do you do? You attack our ships again! Oh. Can you leave our ships alone? So Iran uses their proxies that have their capital in Sana'a, attack U.S. ships in the Red Sea. Oh, I sort of forgot the whole invasion of Kuwait and whatnot, but that was another war. They invaded Kuwait, yeah. And we went to war there, but we can talk about a few other small things. The U.S. population is sick of war, but you attack our ships. Why? Why do you attack our ships? So, America, the American people, maybe not the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. and whatnot, but the American people, just leave us alone. Just stop attacking us. And you will find in probably about 50 to 60 years, it's going to take a while, we'll withdraw our troops from South Korea. We'll withdraw our bases from wherever. We will slowly withdraw into the United States. Won't be overnight. But the world, and it's not even like, it's direct attacks. They're directly attacking our ships here in the Red Sea. Okay, hello, Geopolitical. What was the Italian three-power alliance you mentioned? Was it an anti? Yes. Three powers pact. Geopolitical, sorry, hopefully you're still around. Three powers pact, 1936, signed in Venice. Mussolini, a representative from Austria and a representative from Hungary. That's an anti-German alliance, 1936. Before the war, there was talk of a Scandinavian pact, but yeah, it came to nothing. Most World War II games have problems when Germany could collapse early. Have interesting wars, yes. Okay, let me see. Come up to this. Sounds like someone should make a modern game that how's all that happening? Yes. Okay, yes. Harry thinks I'm based. I ate chocolate cake today. It's fucking good. Yeah, I love chocolate cake too. Yes. Singh or Nick Wilson says facts. Democracy without proper mediation is a bad idea because people will aggregate and have incoherent, contradictory preferences, even though they individually might irrational. Yes. Well, and there's this is why the U.S. is not a democracy. It is a constitutional federal republic with democratic representation. But we have a constitution that protects minorities, and minorities not just of skin color or gender or sexual identity, but minorities of religion and minorities of political opinions within the framework. So it's not, again, I am not the idea of saying there should be dictators everywhere or kings or whatever. I am just majority rule can, and most of the time, means majority tyranny. So yes, so I am not someone that holds out to be democratic as being the ultimate value. I believe in good governance. Winston Churchill said democracy is the worst form of government except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. Yeah, I think he did say something like that, Plastic Gangsta, but he also said something about go talk to an average voter and you'll decide democracy isn't a very good idea, or some words to that effect too. I understand you as an anti-democrat. Okay, well, to some degree, yes. Monarchism is pretty great to me. Yeah, monarchism has massive problems too, Ari. Yeah, but if you do not vote the correct way, the essay will, yes, or your sister, yes, the essay, oh, yes. Yes, yes. No, I'm not saying any of Hitler's elections were free and fair. I'm just saying they were elections or plebiscites, votes, I should say. Nobody believes it is the answer to the vast majority of the people vote referendums without any true understanding of what they're voting for, or at least the consequences. However, one person or a clique can be wrong. Yep, they both can be wrong, Plastic Gangster. I don't have the solution for all things. I am not here preaching for a particular ideology. I personally believe that someplace, well, let's look at Denmark, could be a nice monarchy. It could have some, parliament voting, but it can have a king that sort of acts like a president. And if everybody here is Danish and not a conglomerate of a bunch of different people, it could work really well. But even if you're talking about the English-speaking America, because it isn't all English, some of it's Scots and some of it's Irish, and some of it's Polish and some of it's Italian and some of it's Chinese, and some of it is Hispanic and other things, and Cajun and whatnot. I'm not talking about recent immigrations. I'm talking about immigration prior to 1900 even. It's a bunch of difference, and the Southerners were partially their environment, partially just who from Britain. And notice I change sometimes from England to Britain, and I do mean those as distinct terminology. Some of the people that immigrated and settled down here are different than people that immigrated here. So to have a king in America would be silly, because there's not, even if we're talking about the greater English-speaking group here, there's a lot of cultural diversity. So yeah, a monarchy can be a good national leader, but you can also get really bad problems with monarchs. So you need, the funniest statement is that democracy can't be totalitarian. Oh, it can be. Democracy can be totalitarian. So perhaps the best can be said about democracy is that it's fair. Oppression is oppression, people. Okay? Oppression is oppression. If you're oppressing a group of people, does percentage or scale matter? If 60% of the people say that we are no longer going to have privately owned automobiles, so you're only going to get sort of government-owned taxis or corporate-owned trucks for moving stuff, or trains and light rail, and 60% say that, but the other 40% wants to own an automobile, is that not equal as oppression as to say the reverse? if 40, if it's not a democracy, but 40% of the people want to deny the other 60% who want cars, is that any more or less other than a percentage that are denying them something? Okay? Oppression is oppression. Now you may go, what, die over cars? No, I'm just bringing up a thing that, do you want, you want to, and I'm trying to get it away from any modern controversies here. Well, I don't know, car ownership may be a modern controversy, but so the mere fact that the majority wants something and either ban it or tax it or regulate it so that most people can't, could maybe afford to buy and rent a car, but you got to pay a $5,000 a year tax and insurance, and gas is going to be $100 a gallon. And it's going to, so yeah, super rich people can have a car, but most people can't. We didn't actually ban it, people. We just made it impossible for you to afford it. But cars aren't that expensive. Gas isn't that expensive. Too bad. Just because the majority says so. That's oppression is oppression, people. And whether it's oppression, whether it's a minority of one, a dictator, or a minority of a clique, an oligarchy, a bureaucrats or whatever, could be still a million people in an oligarchy, or whether it is a majority that's oppressing, it's still oppression, people. Now, yes, if you ideologically believe that cars are going to kill off humanity because they're going to do greenhouse gases, and I know some of you people out there believe that. I don't see any real evidence for that. I see evidence for climate change, yes, because hey, it was colder in the past, and before that it was warmer. It was warmer than it is today on average in the northern hemisphere during the Roman Empire. We have yet to reach the sort of, as far as I know, the temperatures in the northern hemisphere that the Roman Empire had. Maybe we're getting about there, but I don't think we're there yet. So was that man-made climate change that the Romans did? I don't think so. They didn't have any automobiles. So if you really believe that cars are going to kill off humanity, and I don't think anybody really fucking believes that. People pretend to believe it. But if you really truly believed it, then yes, you would want to be you would want to save humanity by limiting people owning automobiles. I get that. If you truly believe that, you would be fighting against it because, it's sort of like I heard, I hadn't heard this before, but sometime, I don't know, back in like the 50s or something, or the 60s, Israel thought about digging a canal to come through here to sort of, be an Israeli version of the Suez Canal. And they thought about like exploding like 100 nuclear bombs or something to dig the canal. Because there was really, back in the 1950s and early 60s, the thought of using nuclear bomb type things as super mining, to go after gold or whatever, to build super big mines. The radioactive component of it, just the explosions might be actually, if you could do it conventionally without, the fallout, and, dig a big trench through here. Yeah, it might actually be a good thing. But, doing it with nuclear weapons, and if your government is, bound and determined to do this thing, yeah, that might be something to, it's going to be bad. So, if, and you'd want to fight to stop it, because sure, another canal might be nice, but for such a small country and setting off that much nuclear weaponry might end up killing you all off with radiation poisoning. So yeah, if you truly believe some of this, cars are going to kill off humanity, yeah, I can understand you wanting to, now I don't, again, like I say, I don't believe it will. I think they're entirely wrong. I don't think automobiles are they're affecting the immediate environment, especially in the early days before catalytic converters and dumping all kinds of smog out. And I'm old enough to remember those days, and I think it's better now that we have catalytic converters on at least most cars. You don't put them on race cars or a few examples like that, but for most stuff, yeah, there's certain limitations are the libertarian um, thing of everybody do whatever they want. That's going a bit too far, but you can go so oppression is oppression, whether it's democratic or minority oppression of the majority, still oppression. So democracy, to me, is not a value. Holding votes to reaffirm whatever it is, you know, if Iran holds a vote, and if the majority of people vote in an Islamic fundamentalist repressive government, that's still an Islamic fundamentalist repressive government. Now, I do believe in the right of the Iranian people to decide their own future. They don't have to be Western. I just wish they would fucking stop attacking us. But they can, do their own thing. I'm not one of these people that want to, change the world into Western democratic institutions as a base idea, or that simply because they hold a vote and a majority of the people, maybe even freely and fairly, vote on something, doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with it. Because we've recently seen, and again, I don't know how free and fair it is, and how open, but they recently voted in Venezuela to take literally approximately half of Guinea. And so they claim that they're going to try to take it somehow by military force. And the people here in Venezuela supposedly voted for it, to attack another peaceful nation, because that is one of the pre-World War or post-World War I and continuing post-World War II beliefs that democracies don't vote to attack each other or take their land. Well, Venezuela has done it. Now, again, it might not be free and fair, but hey, listen to their government. They say it is. Again, it might not be. Probably, well, I don't know if it is or not, but so yeah, people vote to take over other things. So democracy is just a means to what or a means, not the means, a means to what I value in the sense of good governance and some democratic representation within governments is a good thing. Good to see you again. Okay, Nick had to go. Sorry, I'm catching up on this. Yes, okay, you're getting that. Okay. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but other than some CND nutters, the UK trusted America above all others. Okay, Columbus should have never discovered America. Well, somebody was going to discover America if it wasn't Columbus. I think U.S. Armed Forces on 90% of the occasions are just a tool of POTUS doing business, not any kind of holy war or necessary preemptive invasions. Okay, yes, you're getting it. Okay, 1846. I think 1846 is the War of Texas Independence. I think that's what you're going there. I think that's what that is, but I could be wrong. I'm not good on some of the dates. The American people were right. Yeah, on some things we are. I don't hate you. Yeah, Arno thinks Trump is all right. Do you notice how someone is always placing our ships in dangerous war zones? It is clear that the American elites. No, I disagree with that. No. There have been, I'm going to throw out a number, it's probably wrong, but for the last 5 years or so, there has been this Houthi war in Yemen, okay? Because maybe North and South Yemen, just because they had the same name with North and South, they should never have united. But there's been this civil war in Yemen. Yes, it has been sponsored heavily by Iran, But they have not, until the last 6 months, ever attacked any ships that were just traveling through the Red Sea. This was not in a war zone. Okay? There had not been a Somali pirate attack since 2017. So no, the elites did not send, at least in this case, did not send ships into a war zone. This was out here, it was peaceful. No one was attacking anybody's ships. Okay? And then the U.S., of course, has been in Ukraine, and then it's being distracted over the Gaza war that Hamas attacks Israel. I mean, again, that's just an attack on Israel. Israel did not start the Gaza war, did not do anything provocative there, other than have a concert and the people paraglided in to kill people. Have a murder fest. Oh, also a rape fest too. But so no, the ships were just peacefully going through the Red Sea, not being provocative. This is not the American elites trying to engineer war here. The Lusitania was not American elites trying to engineer a war with Germany. Okay? Those two were not. It was not American elites trying to engineer a war with Tripoli. There was nothing the Americans wanted with Tripoli. No one knew or wanted oil at that point. Because most of the merchant ships were going, up into the southern part of the European Mediterranean or whatever that got captured. So, they were attacking other Western ships too, Beamslam. You're absolutely right. But, they definitely attacked American ships. We will have a new king on Sunday. Oh, okay, Beamslam in Denmark. I guess I didn't know about that. Greta Thunberg crying about climate change and flying private jet. Yeah, the hypocrisy there. One problem with democracy is that it's based on ideologies. If you could have knowledge based on democracy, that would be preferred to tackle our problems instead of belief-based convictions. Well, we're always going to have belief-based convictions, People will believe things like, I don't know, slavery's bad. People will believe that. I think it's bad. You may or may not think it's bad, but, we will always have sort of belief convictions. See, I think for most populations around the globe, always note what I say, and I'm trying to say it carefully, democracy is a bad idea. What is good? And democracy are things like plebiscites, everybody going out and voting. What I think is good is, and people often don't understand words that I say, because either they don't understand English very well, even though English may be their only language they speak. Again, a lot of Americans are that way. Or they speak some language close to English. Hi, Ari. But don't actually speak English. Ari actually does speak English, but some of his friends and relatives do not actually speak English. But voting for representatives is I do believe, a good thing. And the idea with that is that a bunch of you vote to have somebody that goes in and becomes something of an expert. Meaning their full-time job is to be in a legislature. They're not, so the person goes back to being a mailman, a plumber, a factory worker, a farmer, and just sort of kind of casually has the news on once or twice a day and sort of gets the big headlines. But so they vote for somebody who they think will generally hold or share their values, and that those people will go into governments, large or small, because some of these, you can be thinking like the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, but you could also talk about, New Hampshire, state assembly or whatever it's called in New Hampshire. You're voting for people that will then actually go read the bills, actually go watch the news all the time, and actually, now they don't necessarily do that. A lot of them are flakes and let their staff do this stuff, but actually go in and try to be really informed on the stuff and then try to make good decisions. And now some of these often become lifetime careerists, but really the idea is that they should do it, for 5 or 10 years and then go do something else and get somebody new in there, even if they have the same sort of opinion, just, to sort of have some turnover. So democratic representation, I think, is very good. Direct action democracy, I think, is generally very bad. So, yeah. Okay, U.S.-Mexico War. Oh, is that? I thought it was in the 1850s, but I could be wrong. Okay, yes, the Gulf of Tonkin. Yes, you did get where I was looking at in Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yes, another sort of shipping thing. Are you going to play HOI III BICE 12? Hello, Penjori. I'm not sure. Sometime, I will be back to playing some version of HOI III with Third Reich events. I don't know when that will be. I'm not going to go into it now, but, well, I guess I will say this. I am building a secret base in the mountains. Yes, I'm being a little dramatic, but I'm also being truthful. Probably more truthful than some of you might guess. But I live mainly here, but I'm also somewhere. Just leave it at that sort of picture, not where this is, but somewhere here. I'm building so I'm traveling back and forth, and I've got a bunch more responsibilities and a bunch more stuff going on. That's why Crisis Report, my other channel, has been put on hiatus or been paused doing anything. So there's a couple of mods that don't necessarily big that I want to make, and some other stuff I want to do, but I've just got a lot to deal with, people. And it's not really tragic right now, but a lot of stuff I've got to deal with here. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing maybe as much YouTube videos as I might like to or want to. And because I'm just back 2 days ago, back at home. I had been up at my secret mountain base that I'm building. I mean, I have some of the places there. I'm just needing to get some of the stuff built. And yes, some of you sort of know some of the stuff going on, and those of you know, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut. But yeah, so yeah, it's taking some time. So I don't know about, because if I'm going to play Hearts of Iron 3, or when I'm going to play Hearts of Iron 3, it's more when again, I want to play it with Third Reich events. My mod needs to be updated for it. I need to look at whatever the other sub-mods that are out there, and if I want them integrated, what that's going to take. And that's a bunch of effort. And I want to play 2 games, 2 big playthroughs at least of that. One of me just playing as Germany. The other as, and I know for some reason they just do multiplayer games mostly, and Ari has looked at some of the stats, and maybe not some are as bad as others, but multiplayer games have not been doing very well in the channel. But I do want to play a multiplayer of Hearts of Iron 3. So you got to have people that have internet connections and computers that could handle the stuff, which is because it's an older game that's being pushed really hard. You actually need a better computer than you do if you're playing HOI IV nowadays. I really would like to play, with all of the majors playing, a country, and playing mostly historical. Not that France has to lose, but France cannot just decide to, I don't know, invade Belgium or some other bullshit. Have to play within, shall we say, historically based limitations. Now they could try to do as smart as defense as the French player could play, But beyond that, it's within historical limitations. But they can try to be smart about it, or the Soviet player can try to be smart about it, or whatever. But within historical limitations, that I'm setting. But I do want to play those two games, make a big series for both of them for YouTube. I just don't know when they're going to happen. Sorry that it's that. An extreme finger, well, not necessarily southern with airy. It's more Appalachian, these mountains. I mean, it's different than some of the other stuff. But yeah, airy does speak English. I've spoken to him. I've spoken to him. He does speak English. But not all the people in his region. They speak a language that is derived, has its roots in English. And it's actually has roots in very old English, but it's not necessarily English. How do I find your other channel? Okay, Genosi, it is Crisis Report. There are a few links. Arno, are you still? Well, let me alt tab. I'll see about getting you a link there here. Like I say, it's on hiatus since 3-4 months ago. I'm not sure when I will get back to it. Someday I do want to. But here we go. Here's the link to it. It was mostly looking at the Ukrainian war. You're on. Yeah. But sometimes it's still a small channel. Sometimes it wasn't coming up on YouTube searches. There you go. That should be a direct link to it there. Is it coming through? Yes, it's coming through there. That should give you. Yeah, there you go. Crisis report. Hello, Jetin. How you doing? Me talking about what's going on in Ukraine. Mostly I was focusing on. Not a gaming channel at all. Oh, so, yeah. So, yes, I really think America was retreating. Now, in the last 12 months or so, there's been I saw some number, I think it's correct, something like 15 wars have broken out. Some are, and there's other ones like the, Yemen civil war with the Saudi Arabian, Omani, and Iranian intervention and support. That's been going on for some time, but Sudan has broken out into a civil war, all in the last 12 months. Now, South Sudan is in another civil war, but that's a bit older. Obviously, we have the Ukrainian war, and there's a lot of wars that have been breaking out. And, I grew up during the Cold War. And I know a lot of our leaders in Washington are Cold War. And when you have an enemy, and that is a universalist that says we are the only way that we will allow people to live, and it is just our capabilities are limited from enforcing that on you, that's a problem. Okay, people, that is a problem. So when you have communists with nuclear weapons, whether in the Soviet Union or China, and they're saying we are the only way you are allowed to live, and as soon as we can, we will conquer you, that's a problem that you need to pay attention to. Now, it's also a problem if you're from a religion that says that we are the... Now, most religions may say this, that we're the only way that you should believe, but if you add in, we will attempt to conquer you if you don't believe the way we believe, then that could be, Catholics going around and saying, nope, can't be Protestant, you must be Catholic. Most Christian sects are no longer trying to violently enforce their religion on other people. They all believe, though, in the right of spreading their religion, through voluntarily, But most of the Christian sects have stopped spreading their religion by violence. But if you are, from a religion that spreads its controlled by violence, and then if you acquire nuclear weapons, oh wait a minute, these guys have nuclear weapons, Pakistan, that becomes a problem that you just can't ignore, because one day they will send missiles and strike you. Oh, they're not missiles, gamer. They were airplanes. How is an airplane, when it crashes into something, not a missile? Oh, well, they didn't have any nuclear weapons on them. Yeah, we know those didn't have nuclear weapons on it. What would stop a plane being hijacked somewhere, having the transponder or something changed to look like a Federal Express jet cargo airplane or something like that, and putting a nuclear bomb on it and landing it in New York airport or something and blowing it up, or flying it into the city and blowing it up? So all you got to do is have a nuclear bomb. As complicated as the ones that we dropped in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. You don't need a modern nuclear bomb. You don't need a intercontinental ballistic missile, as we might know it, because it can be on a cruise missile, otherwise known as a airplane. That's a cruise missile. And you can even have an airplane that is, has a, non-pilot, guided, like a drone. You can turn a big airplane into a drone. They got computers on board. They can fly themselves, basically. You could probably program one not that hard to fly to New York, to the longitude and latitude. And then once it reports that it's over its longitude and latitude, it probably isn't that hard to trigger a nuclear bomb. So, yeah, I am worried about those kind of things, and I do believe, as an American, we have to watch and be vigilant against regimes who have those kind of ideologies. Because when people come out in mass and say death to America, I don't know if you've seen the video of what looks to be 1,000,000 people, but maybe it's only 300,000 or something, but a huge fucking amount of men, I'm sure they're all men, are out in the streets of Sana'a shouting, or somebody's out there on loudspeaker shouting death to America. And this is all like within the last 24 hours. That would have been a great cluster bomb. Oh, gamer, you would have bombed those civilians? I don't know that they're civilians. Those look like the uniforms of the Houthi to me. And they're all out there saying death to America. Well, when you get somebody who's actually attacked American assets and they're saying death to America, I think they're a legitimate target. I don't care if they go back and work in the factory 5 minutes later and that's their job. Well, they're supporting death to America, and they've attacked America. They've actually done it. Maybe not every single one of those people out there launched it. No, but they're all part of the system, and they all came out and showed up and did the death to America chant. To me, that would have been a great cluster bomb airstrike. About somewhere between 10 and 20 could have just taken them 90% of the people out, and yeah, let's say 500,000 people dead. I mean, it looks like that kind of number of people in that huge wide avenue that looks a few miles long, but maybe however many people, maybe it's just 50,000. I don't know. I would have supported that airstrike and having every single one of them dead. Gamer, you just called for them dead. Yep, because they've been attacking us, and I'm going to believe them. Because you know what? I've called for the end of the Soviet Union. I've called for the end of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. But I don't think I've ever said something like death for a country like, I'm breaking this up so it'd be very hard for somebody just to pull this out of the air in the future, to China. No, I don't call for these kind of things. I'm not calling for the death to Yemen. I'm just saying that we got to airstrike or kill all those people out there saying death to America. All the people that didn't show up, stayed home. Well, hey, I don't have a problem with them. Well, maybe I do because I don't know, because maybe they just were sick and couldn't make it. I'm only talking about the people that were out there calling, because when people come out and say these things, I believe them. I don't just take them as, oh, that's just what they're chanting because they're just chanting it because they're just ignorant people in the desert. No, I believe them. And if, say, Iran or Pakistan gives them an atomic bomb and then they put it on board a cargo ship or put it on board a cargo airplane or just an airplane and somehow get it to, whether they fly it to America or they fly it to the rather small base that we have down here in Djibouti and blow it up, that's, I'm just believing them that they're willing to do violence, and it is only capability that's limiting them. If they had the capability, they would be attacking. And I don't believe in fair fights. I believe in let's kill the bastard before he kills me. I don't want to. This is not a boxing match. And so, yeah, so that big demonstration, if you've seen the videos, I would strike that. And I would make a very, very public demonstration about striking it. So the next time there's somebody calls for a big mass rally, death to America, maybe the people won't show up. Maybe they will, and we can strike them too. But, if the people, really people, and I'm talking about the Europeans or wherever else, and I'm also saying to people like the Europeans or whoever, maybe you should do something about these people before they, if you don't want America wandering around blowing up parts of the world, maybe you ought to deal with it before it becomes a problem because it's in your neighborhood. It's closer, the Red Sea is closer to Europe than it is to the United States. Because mostly we want peace. And I think I'm more and more wanting to, and I'm, yes, including Canada because it's strategically important and it's a weakness if we don't, but include this part of the world and then just otherwise control the oceans, because I just like American trade. You don't have to let us in. If North Korea doesn't want to allow American trade in, well, okay, fine. China really doesn't want to trade with us. No, I'm not a 19th century guy that says we got to go force them open to trade like they did sort of say in the past. But anybody who wants to trade with us, we want to trade with you. If we want to trade with you, we can decide not to trade with you. We're not forced to trade with you, but you don't have to trade with us. And you just leave us alone. We'll be mostly peaceful. We really will. Because the American people really don't want all of this stuff. It's just you keep giving us cause to doing this. Okay. Watched White House Down movie last night. Surprisingly better effective. I don't know if I saw that. I was in Iran and safe and secure. Yeah. Surely you can see that regardless of the details of the shipping attack, American elites are desperate to join another war in the Middle East and will seize any excuse to do so. No, I don't, Genosi. Because we already have enough wars with Ukraine, Gaza. Look, there was the whole right there, right where I clicked. Tigray War. The whole Tigray War that I don't know, 50,000 people died in. It's mostly over now, but it was going hot and heavy 6 months to a year ago. We didn't even, most Americans didn't even know about it. We could easily be messing around in Libya because there's still a ongoing contest of who controls what parts of Libya. There's sort of people who control over here don't control over here. It's a mess. We're still messing around in Syria. We could decide to re-engage more in Iraq. You didn't need this. Doesn't need to be. And yes, some of the people around my secret base that I'm building very much have opinions like this is all engineered by them. They often don't specify. Oh, they'll talk about the World Economic Forum and whatnot, yes. But they don't, most of them. A few do actually read up a lot of the details. But they're often sketchy on what they are. And a couple of, I've had to educate a few of them. I don't know if I've changed their mind, but about all of this is elites. This really, I do believe, and if you also notice how long it took, how many attacks it took for the U.S. to respond, because all we were doing was shooting down incoming missiles and boats that were attacking attacking shipping, because we did sink, I think, 3 of 4 small boats and kill all the crews on the small boats that had. We had gone for quite a while and the attacks continued. So I'm going to say that this is not something that the elites are engineering. I think this war has been going on for a long time. I don't really think the elites want to get involved in a ground war here. I really don't think they want to. I could be wrong. I fully admit that I can be wrong, but I really think this is a actual response to an unlooked for, unprovoked, because the U.S. has not been airstriking, invading, and there's definitely been the ability to over the Gaza war, but we've mostly been holding back as far as I can tell. I do think we have a few people on the ground, in command headquarters and various, I should say, Israeli command headquarters, on the ground monitoring the situation. And they, yes, may be wearing a U.S. military uniform, but I don't think we are actively participating in the Gaza war. We may be giving them intelligence, but I don't know if we are, and I don't know if it's overly helping the Israelis, because the Israelis have lots and lots of intelligence capabilities on Gaza already. Trust me, they do. Obviously, they missed the whole attack, but, I think everybody did, but I don't know. Maybe there were people somewhere in Langley who are going, Hamas is going to attack, and no one was paying attention to them. That may be the case, but I don't know of it. So there's enough other places to engineer wars if we want to. So I don't see this one as that. Europeans are cheapskates who want to leave the dirty and expensive. Yes, you're absolutely right, folk. This is why one of the many reasons they didn't like Trump was he was wanting them to pay for their own defense in Europe. Wanting them to. And also when Germany, oh yes, part of our defense spending is we're building new housing and schools for soldiers and the soldiers' children. Well, they may need the new housing because old housing is not up to standards or is falling apart. But is that really part of what we mean by the percentage of your GDP for defense? Or is that just, fluff, extra that you should spend, but you're not spending? So yeah, they didn't like Trump for you got to pay for your own defense. They did not like Trump for that, amongst other things. I'm not saying that's the only thing they didn't like Trump for, but that was definitely a major reason to hate Trump. It's on YouTube. You want to check it out, sir. Yeah, but they care much more about Israeli-Iran affairs, which Yemen is connected to, than African scrub. Yeah, true. Yemen is, well, yeah, the Houthi are Iranian proxies. I understand. But this Houthi thing has been going on for like 10 years now. So, and when under Obama, when the Iranians captured a a U.S. military naval vessel, sort of redundant, a U.S. naval vessel. And I say vessel because it wasn't a ship; it was a small boat. A large small boat. Um, Now it might, and I'm not sure because it was having some engine troubles and everybody was down below decks, as far as I understand, when since they didn't have a lookout when the Iranians showed up and took over the vessel and held Americans prisoners for a little while. It might have legitimately drifted into internationally recognized Iranian waters, as opposed to what Iran may claim, but no one else recognizes. It might have drifted in, but at most, in my opinion, is somebody like the U.S. would have boarded the boat, see what's going on, and unless they asked for it, towed them back out to international waters, unless they asked to be brought into a port or something like that. So there's been various times that the U.S. could attack Iran directly. And there's a lot more Iranian aggression in here than there is going on other places. So there's plenty of places to battle Iran. Yeah, no, I really see the attacks in the Red Sea are unlooked for, because I'll tell you another thing. Okay, and again, I've been around some of these people that the globalists are, the modern akin to communists. Okay, globalists are bad. Well, one thing that globalists want is global stability. Okay, people, you got to really understand this. You can be anti-globalist. I'm not saying you got to love the globalists, but globalists want stability. And that's part of the reason they want to attack somebody like Iran, is because Iran is stirring the pot. But they want stability through, like, the Red Sea, because that's a major stability action here. Okay, you got so much trade going through here. They want that stability. And so, wars in the desert, wars in the jungle, wars somewhere like that, okay, fine. But they want stability. This whole Ukraine thing is really upsetting the globalists. It really is. Yes, they want to give, weapons to Kiev, and fine. I want us, to a degree, I want to support, give the weapons to Kiev and to the anti-Russian faction too. It just, to me, I may be disagreeing on the level of support, not that whether we should support them there. I do believe our government should give a certain, not send in troops, but give a certain amount of support to Kiev, though I think they may be giving too much. And so a lot of it's being wasted. But globalists want stability. And this actions here are destabilizing what had been stable. And so I really do see it as a unlooked for, unwanted situation. But time will tell. If it continues to just simply be airstrikes, that kind of thing, maybe, because there is a ship, I think it's in this harbor here, with a crew captured. Now, none of them are Americans. The ship isn't American. The crews aren't Americans. It doesn't carry an American flag. And I don't know that the Americans should. But if we're just talking about a rescue mission to rescue the crew, and maybe a mission to drag the ship out, because there may be grounded. There's a possibility that the car carrier that was empty of cars that they captured, with that, you've probably seen the helicopter footage. Actually, it's a very well done mission by the Houthi. But if it's just a rescue mission for the hostages and or getting the car carrier out of there, fine. But if it becomes any more ground action beyond that, then you're definitely right. The globalists maybe not started it, because I still don't think they prompted this. I really don't. I really think it's Iran telling, because all those missiles that were being targeted at the ships. There's an Iranian ship that had been here, though. Just in the last 24 hours, it's now out here. It's moved. It's moved. It's no longer sitting here. It's moved. It's down here now. Maybe even further out. I don't know, but it was supposed to be here for longer because they gave a port time. I mean, it's been sitting here for almost like a year. It's literally been sitting out here for almost like a year. The Iranian ship. This Iranian ship has been giving targeting information, and if it wasn't an Iranian pushing the button to send off the various types of missile attacks, an Iranian was standing behind the guy pushing the button. Okay, I'm sure of that. Without no, I know this. The Iranian spy ship was out here, but I'm not sure of what I'm saying about pushing the button. But I believe either an Iranian was pushing the button or an Iranian guy was standing behind whoever was pushing that button to launch those missiles, if you will. Maybe giving them the targeting information. So yes, this is an Iranian-sponsored action, but I think it's unlooked for by the global elites. But we will see. If we do see a major ground intervention, not just airstrikes, then you may be right. What did folk just say? What is infuriating is that the U.S. is taking the PR hit for protecting Chinese trade transitioning through the Red Sea, even though China is pro-Houthi. Well, definitely some of the goods are either going to or coming from China. That is true. But they've also been, because each ship has a transponder. They can turn it on and turn it off. It's rather, and I'm sure at some level, governments can spoof transponders, but most freighters can't. But they can edit their name on the transponder. They can't, to my knowledge. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I've watched some YouTube channels by experts, truly experts. So to my knowledge, they can do, because sometimes they change the name of the vessels, because different owners, but they can't change the transponder. So the code, but they can change the name, but they can also change, who it's flagged by. And they've been putting on some of the vessels Chinese crew or Chinese owned to make sure that the vessels going through here, if they're Chinese directly connected, to not be attacked. Because the Houthis do not want to attack the Chinese right now. Read that the ships you are speaking of are actually a replacement spy ship for the damaged one that Iran had stationed there before. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Genosi, for the episodes where you get back to playing though. Yeah, we will, but we're going to be ending this here pretty soon. But yeah, thank you. They have been there to give targeting. Oh, they've been giving targeting data, I believe. They've been giving, because I don't know how good the targeting data from the ground, but they've also been giving data as to, what these ships are. Like, hey, this, because it's one thing to, have radar that's looking out at sea and seeing, blip, 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 or whatever, showing up, oh, there's a ship there, but what ship that is, that it's this vessel, carrying this with this crew, this flag, this owner. And they sometimes, to really get to some of the connections, either originally to Israel or whatever, they had to really sort of look deep. But some of the vessels that have been shot at, because the U.S. have been mostly shooting the stuff down, but sometimes very within visual range, because I've, again, watched YouTubers who have talked or communicated with, maybe not actual talk, but text or whatever, with people that were there on either on the ships that were being attacked or near enough by that they were, with the Mark I eyeball seeing the missile interceptions. Okay, so we're talking close range here. And those things are coming, very fast. So they're seeing the explosions just, a short ways off from their ship. That there were U.S. owned and flagged and very likely, I believe, contracted by the U.S. government to carry, military supplies or whatever to, one of them I think was carrying supplies to Djibouti, to our base there that we have. China also has a base in Djibouti right next to ours. So what is, a mostly peaceful but U.S. government contracted civilian based ship that the missiles were coming either directly at that ship or very, very, very nearby and needed to be shot down because they weren't quite sure where the missile was going. So they're definitely attacking things under the American flag, not just random owned vessels that may or may not have gone to Israel or may or may not gone somewhere else. But so they're attacking American shipping, and I think it's unwanted by the elites. So yeah, we this, in my opinion, this is not a Gulf of Tonkin made up incident, as far as I can tell. Is Again, as far as I can tell, and yeah, I'm just looking at YouTube and Twitter. I'm looking at multiple sources. Some of them are pro-U.S., some of them are anti. Well, I don't know if anti-U.S., but the sources I'm looking at. But some of them are not friendly to the current Biden administration, shall we say. They're skeptical of the Biden administration. That this is all unwanted by them and by the Biden administration, and they're reacting to it. And so that's it. Okay, well, I think we're going to end this episode here. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was really informative about the American character. We really just don't, we the people, don't really effing care about this. Just, if you would just leave us alone, or tell your playmates, to leave us alone. And by that means, go kill your fucking playmates that are attacking us before we have the chance to do it. Then the U.S. won't bother you. We really won't. I mean, it took a lot for Wilson to be able to get into World War I. He wanted to. It took a lot to do so. And I don't really support America going into World War I. I do support America going into World War II. And it took a lot for FDR to get the American people to wholeheartedly agree to go into World War II. So it took a lot. And I totally support going into World War II. Totally. I'm a total supporter of the Cold War and fighting the communists. I am not a hardcore American isolationist. I really personally believe that America should only be involved in wars under one of two, foreign wars, or, wars out there, under two circumstances. One is if we're directly attacked. Somebody's attacking us. I don't care from what third world crap hole that they are, and how could they hurt America? Well, if you start taking American hostages, I think we should get involved. I really think, for tourist purposes, an American passport, just wave them through. You want to go kidnap people somewhere in the world for ransom or whatever, fine. Just leave Americans alone. And if you're in an area and you're anti-American, they show up with an American passport and you don't like America, just tell them to go home. Turn around and go away. Don't take them prisoner. Just tell them to go away. So if there's like American missionary somewhere and you don't like it, and you're in your crap hole Islamic country like in Britain, and you don't like an American missionary spreading Christianity, put them on an airplane and send them home, because you want to be, you want your Islamic Republic of Britain. You think that's the way to go. Fine. You don't have to let an American, but don't take Americans hostage. Don't kill Americans. Just, we know you're an Islamic country, but there will be Americans that will try to convert you to Christianity, but you can send them home. Just do so peacefully, Britain. Please, don't attack Americans. So don't attack, whether it's American shippings or America or whatever. Don't attack us. That, or if we have a significant national interest, like we do have an alliance with NATO. So don't attack NATO to get us involved. We do have alliances with, South Korea and Japan. Don't attack South Korea and Japan. If you don't attack South Korea and Japan, we won't bother you. So we do have national interests. But that doesn't mean we need to get into war, because there's a bunch of wars going on in Burma right now, different factions in a civil war. We don't need to get involved in the Burma civil war. We don't need to get involved in this various, it's either South Sudan or the Sudan civil war. We'll let the Israelis deal with the Gaza war. We really don't need to nowadays, in my opinion, be involved in the Syrian civil war. Yeah, I think the Kurds are great, but they've got to be able to defend themselves. Now, we can give or sell them some weapons. That's cool, but we don't need to have ground forces there. We can support a side, and you may not like that the world, but we're not the only ones that sell weapons, okay? So just because we sell weapons to a side that you don't like doesn't mean you need to attack us. You just, that's how it all works. Okay. America's also stopping to declare their enemies their friends. Don't quite get that. Hello, gamer. Do you think if troops in Iraq are attacked, the U.S. is justified to go to war? Well, yes, it depends on what the troops are doing. If all they're doing is, I don't think we have many troops in Iraq. I don't think. I haven't been following it closely in the last 6 months. We do have some military personnel around some sort of green zone in Baghdad, meaning sort of the greater embassy complex. We have the permission of the current government to be there in Baghdad. Whether they really want us there or not is maybe another question, but we have the permission to be there. Okay, we do have that to be there. And they haven't told us, the government hasn't told us, Yankee, go home. And so if our troops are just protecting, the U.S. embassy complex, and you attack, well, that's justify going to war. The government said you should go. They did tell you to go. Well, maybe they did. I don't know if they've said to go. I don't know. Well, I just said Syria. I don't think we should have U.S. troops in Syria. I don't see a reason to have U.S. troops in Syria. I do support a certain level of support for the Kurds, which might mean giving them some weapons, but that doesn't mean we should keep troops in there. No, I don't think we should have troops in Syria. But if we want to give weapons to the Kurds, we can do that. Doesn't mean we should have troops. We don't need to be involved in Syria. So, that is the case. Okay, guys. Well, we're got to end this now. Talk to you guys later.